Bugonia is a new comedy thriller, probably the best way I would sum up this movie, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, among others as well, but those two are the main stars. Jesse Plemons plays this conspiracy theorist named Teddy. He and his cousin Dawn are firmly convinced that this CEO, played by Emma Stone, is actually an alien that has come down from another planet that intends to destroy Earth. So they kidnap her, they shave her head so she can't contact her mothership. They are holding her hostage in their basement, and they say to her, it's like, listen, we know you're an alien, we know your intent is to destroy Earth, we demand an audience with your leadership, and that's what it's gonna be. Emma Stone looks at them trying to say like, yeah, hate to disappoint you, but I am not an alien. Jesse Plemons is like, bull fucking shit, you are an alien. Which leads into a very absurd and ridiculous cat and mouse game between these two characters. I would describe Yorgos Lanthimos as the coconut of movie directors. As in, he is among those directors whose movies get a very glamoring appeal and reviews from people that are in the Academy, from very esteemed critics, but to the everyday moviegoers like us, their movies are kind of an acquired taste. Like, they don't make movies for the general audience. They make movies for a very specific group of people. Like, you either love the style that they have, or you're not really for the style that they have. Yorgos Lanthimos is one of those guys, and as a result of that, I've seen, trailers for movies that he's made. I've seen, the awards they've won. I've seen the reviews that they've gotten, but, I haven't seen any of his movies really because none of them have really just appealed to me. Like, for me, I just heard the opinions of people that I trust, people who are just normal, everyday movie lovers like I am, and it just made me think, alright, I don't think his movies are my taste. However, when I saw the trailer for Bugonia and I learned what it was about, I said to myself, I'm like, that could be one that I could get on board with. Not that it's more of a mainstream movie necessarily. It definitely looked like it had, his vibe and his, absurd style to it, but it did have a storyline that I thought could be entertaining. I mean, these two guys, they abduct this woman thinking she is an alien. They want to get answers out of her to save Earth. She's like, you people are nuts. I am not an alien. Like, that's just ridiculous enough of a premise for me to go, that could work. And I'm here to tell you guys, there is a lot of this movie that really works. But this movie is 100% really carried by the two leads in this movie. Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, they both crush it in this movie. Starting with Emma Stone, you almost feel like at this point she's become one of Yorgos Lanthimos' actors. The ones that, there's certain directors, it's like, you gotta be in the majority of my movies because I can bring out the best in you, and I can do that, which benefits both of us. I feel like she has become that for him. I mean, she won an Oscar in Poor Things. I know she's been in quite a few other movies directed by him. She's here in this one, and once again, she's great. Because what I really love seeing with Emma Stone as a character in this movie is she's obviously someone who is very equipped to handle this situation. Not necessarily because she's been through it before, but her being a CEO, her being a woman of power, she understands that, freaking out and panicking in a situation like this is not going to do her any good. Like, very quickly, when she is abducted by these guys and she wakes up in the basement with a bald head and she hears what they're talking about, she hears what these guys are saying to her, she's like, okay, this is not going to be enough for me to threaten them or blackmail them or plead with them. I'm going to have to play along a little bit here. I like seeing that in characters like this. Like, yeah, your situation is very weird and it's scary and it might look bleak for you, but you gotta stay composed, you gotta stay calm, you gotta think right, you gotta think quick. And she was very good at doing that. She was very good at sizing these guys up. She was very good at understanding that these are people who are not quite right in the head, and as a result, I need to figure out what they need to hear from me and exactly how I can get them to eventually let me go. And yeah, Jesse Plemons, I gotta give him credit. He was awesome in this movie. I haven't really seen him in too much. I mean, the biggest thing I know Jesse Plemons from is as Todd from Breaking Bad, where he played a complete piece of shit human being. And since then, I haven't seen him in too much. I haven't seen him in a lot of, like, leading roles where he was in the forefront. But he is here, and he completely owns it. And I love seeing him as a character because he's ridiculous. I mean, we all know someone like Teddy. Like, someone who is just totally convinced about something, believes something is out there, believes something is going on. You know, those black belt conspiracy theorists here and there. Like, we've all met someone like that. We all have talked to someone like that. We're all like, yeah, okay, buddy. That's absolutely what he is there, and he completely owns that role. And as a result, when he's having conversations with Emma, when he's trying to walk through his cousin on how they deal with... And he completely owns it in this movie. When he's having conversations with Emma Stone, trying to get answers out of her that he wants, or when he's trying to walk through his cousin Dawn, who's not as in on this as maybe Teddy is. Like, there's moments where, you know, Emma Stone is breaking down emotionally, she's trying to plead with them, and he looks at Dawn, he's like, nope, don't you crack, you stay strong right here. They're playing with you. They know how to mess with us. You stay strong. We're saving the world here. Like, it leads to moments where you just kind of sit there and you can't help but laugh because how absurd the situation is and how ridiculous his character is. Like, this is a guy who has clearly devoted his entire life to saving the human race from aliens that are out there, and he's now convinced Emma Stone is the key to that. And if nothing else, you do admire the fact that he knows how to counter every response that she has, how he's able to deduce in his mind that she is an alien, and how prepared he is for this sort of inevitable moment that he saw coming. It's like, yeah, he believes an alien invasion is on the way, it's gonna wipe out Earth, and for him, he has come prepared. And as a result, that's where the dialogue in this movie and the banter between Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons really works in this movie. I mean, they're both playing off one another very, very well. One says something to the other immediately has something to say back to counter that point. Which makes the movie unpredictable as such. You are now sitting there. At times you're thinking like, okay, Jesse Plemons is just out of his mind, he's mentally ill, he's ridiculous. But then you hear points that he makes, or you see how Emma Stone maybe responds to certain questions, you're just like, I mean, is he entirely crazy? And that's what I really appreciate with this movie. The movie does get you to see the perspective of both characters, because it would have been so easy to go into a movie like this and be completely on Emma Stone's side and think, yeah, she's been abducted by a couple of crazy people who are just nuts. But no, instead you hear the arguments from both sides. You're thinking like, maybe I'm not entirely sure who to believe. So yeah, does it lead to some funny moments here and there? Yeah, none that had me like dying laughing necessarily, but some that definitely like leaving with like, you know, you're laughing kind of quiet, like you're chuckling to yourself, you're just shaking your head because of the ridiculousness that you're observing in the movie. But this is very much a thrill at the same time. It gave me a lot of 10 Cloverfield Lane vibes a little bit, which is a movie that's, granted, not for everybody. I absolutely love that movie. Where, you know, it's a very condensed, very grounded type of thriller. It all takes place really in mostly one place the whole time. And you have sort of this situation going on, namely between two characters where you're like, okay, someone's lying about something, but someone also might be telling the truth about something. Like, is a person crazy, or do they actually have a point? And as a result, it leads to some really intense moments, leads to some serious conversations, it leads to moments that definitely get very edgy. Because the whole time, again, what the movie does is it's very unpredictable. You don't necessarily know how certain situations are going to unfold because of that. It's a movie that really keeps you on its toes and really has you excited for the way the movie's ultimately going to wrap up. It's a great journey. I just love the themes the movie does explore upon. Like, this is a movie that really delves into situations like mental illness and trauma and what certain situations can ultimately lead characters down a certain path. And it also is a really good look into what people will go through to survive, how far people are willing to go, what people are willing to contemplate, what people are willing to give up to get through a situation. Like, yeah, the second someone is in a situation where they are very much concerned if they could survive, if they could escape a situation, if there's any sort of glimmer of hope, very quickly you will leave a bit of your humanity behind and you're prepared to sacrifice anything or even anyone to be free. I will say the ending of the movie is definitely going to divide some people. Some people might find it completely ridiculous. I will say that is probably where Yorgos Lanthimos' real weirdness that he always brings to his movies, that's where it really comes into the forefront a little bit more. But for me, I didn't really hate the ending because I thought for the most part it worked for what the story was really going for. To me, in a way, it felt satisfying because, you know, the way certain things are summed up as the movie goes along For me, it kind of made sense, but I understand it will not be for everybody. But all in all, I had a great time with Bugonia. The two leads, Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, they absolutely crush it in this movie. I loved seeing both their characters play off one another. I loved seeing what each was willing to go through and try to accomplish to get ultimately what they want. The movie had its funny moments when it needed to feel a little more lighthearted and just make you laugh at the absurdity. It also had moments that were very intense, had you on the edge of your seat, had you just guessing to yourself what's going to come next. I love the unpredictability in this movie, but I really love the dialogue and the writing. This movie it kept me hooked the whole time. That's what I will say. Even once you understand where the movie ultimately ends up, I think the movie's going to still have its replay value just because the journey that got you to the end was just that much fun. I love the different themes this movie touched on. I do think the ending will definitely undeniably divide some people. But in the end, if you're a Yorgos Lanthimos fan, you will probably really love this movie. But even if you're not, I think this is one worth checking out. I mean, as someone who's never been on his train, this was one of the surprises of the year for me. And I think it's one of the better movies of the year. Didn't think I would say this going into here, but I'm going to give Bugonia an 8 out of 10, which makes it one worth buying on physical home media.
Shut up and take my money.
That's the lesson right there, people. Directors that typically aren't your cup of tea, don't shut them out entirely, because one day they may make a movie that surprises you in a very pleasant way. So that's all I got to say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.